Hey guys, I'm back with another card review. Again, like my last video, I'm going to go over the cards that they put on the official website. The day is the 22nd. They just released the cards last night, and then there'll be one final review on the 25th. We should have all the cards by then. So I'm just going to go over the cards that they recently added. If you missed the last video, make sure to check out that first. Let's start off with Forest. We have Nature's Guidance is returning. This is a reprint of Nature's Guidance. Nature's Guidance was a very good card in strategies like Path PTP Forest and OTK Roach. Path to Purgatory Forest and one turn kill Rhino Roach. This card is very, very good because it lets you reuse fanfares at a really cheap cost of 1 play point and also replace itself. It's always good if you're running pretty much any kind of cheap fanfare. I think Insect Lord rotates out, that's a big deal. But you can do stuff like bounce your Lily and replay her with this. Definitely a core card of Forestcraft, going to see a lot of play. I want to give these it's hard to rate this card because of the reprint, but it's like a 5 out of 5. Robotic Bagworm. 1 play point 1/1 Machina card. Fanfare until the end of your turn, subtract 1 from the cost of a Machina card, excluding Robotic Bagworm. So you can't just play this on turn 1 and then have 3 1/1s on turn 1. Interesting card. Essentially replaces its cost by giving you a subtraction of 1, so it's like a free 1/1, which is very good in Forest. It lets you combo. So as long as there's a good Machina archetype in Forestcraft, this is a very good card. I'm going to give this card a 4 out of 5. Daisy Bow Archer, 2 play point 2/2. During your turn, whenever another allied follower evolves, deal 2 damage to a random enemy follower. That is very good. Turn 4, if you have a 2-drop, like another 2-drop and Daisy Bow Archer, you play both of them, evolve the other 2-drop, get a lot of value. Very, very strong effect. It also has Enhance 7, gain +3/+3 and deal 2 damage to random enemy followers. That's okay. Like, use that if you're desperate, but her main ability is very strong. The Rain is rotating from Forestcraft. This might be the replacement. Next we have Forest's Core, the Arboreal Core. During your turn, whenever an allied follower evolves, you put 2 Fairy Wisps in your hand and then banish the amulet. I rate this as one of the better cores. Fairy Wisp is, if you didn't know it, 0 play point 1/1. Fanfare banishes follower if at least 2 other cards were played this turn. The reason why this is so good is because it it ups your combo count for Forestcraft and also removes itself from the board. So the problem with Forestcraft and combo is that if you fill your board, you can no longer play followers to increase your combo count. Fairy Wisp will dissolve after you've played 2 other cards this turn. Like, if you play it after you play 2 other cards, it will remove itself, giving you room to combo off harder. It also lets you do stuff like play Nature's Guidance on your Fairy Wisp, and then play it again, and the Fairy Wisp will banish itself, but also it itself added 2 to your combo count. So very strong, especially in OTK Roach. So you can definitely see this card being played there. For rotation, it's hard to say what kind of combo Forestcraft decks are going to be out there, but this is a very strong card. Speaking of combo Forest, we have another combo card. 2 play point spell, Arya's Whirlwind. Deal X damage to all followers, excluding fairies and Fairy Wisps. X equals the number of other cards played this turn. When talking about combo, like you go Fairy Wisp, play the Nature's Guidance on it, play the Fairy Wisp again. Suddenly you have 3 to your count, and then you play Whirlwind, and it'll do 3 damage to all followers for 3 play points essentially. It's very strong. Great in control decks. Great in a deck that wants to stall out. So yeah, I think it's going to be definitely played in Unlimited, and if there's a control forest, This is a very strong option for them. Next we have Mecha Lance Elf. Rush. Whenever this follower attacks enemy follower, reduce damage to this follower to 0 until the end of the turn and deal X damage to enemy leader. X equals the attack of this follower minus the defense of the follower. Okay. So if you've played Magic the Gathering, this essentially is trample. So it will attack enemy follower, and any excess damage that it deals will transfer over to the opponent. Its stats are very bad. It's a 7 play point 6/3, which means it's not going to survive a lot of attacks, but it will give you a big burst of damage if you attack someone with low health. So you attack like a 1/1 with this, it'll do 5 damage to the opponent, which is a lot, but do you really need this? Maybe in like an aggro forest craft might play something. Its stats are poor, but if its only job is to remove something and deal damage to the opponent, like comparable to a Dance of Death, that potentially does a lot more damage, I think this is pretty good. I'll give it about 3.5 out of 5. Next we have Cynthia the Queen's Blade. 6 play point 5/7. Fanfare. Give another unevolved allied forestcraft follower the ability to evolve for 0 play points. During your turn, whenever another allied follower evolves, summon 2 fairy wisps. And when she evolves herself, she summons 2 fairies. No matter if you evolve her or another follower, you still get 2 1/1s. The fact that they're fairy wisps versus fairies doesn't matter too much. There's some cards that synergize with fairies, but not that many. But there's a lot of cards that, when you evolve them, they get another bonus, like Lily. It's kind of expensive. A 6 play point 5/7 without ward. It does give you a free evolve, but that means you have to have something on board with this. So to me, it's just kind of a bunch of stats. Now, if you want to have a bunch of stats, this is pretty good. Well, it doesn't do much other than that, unless there's some kind of combo that revolves evolution points later in the game. So for now, I'm going to give it about a 3 out of 5. It has the potential of being better. Moving on to Sword. We have the 5 play point spell Dual Blade Flurry. Give a rush to an allied follower. That follower can attack 2 times per turn. So giving a allied follower a rush for 5 play points is pretty expensive. So that means you have to have enough play points to play another follower and then Dual Blade Flurry. That's very expensive. Yeah, the main use for this is to give a follower who's already on board attack 2 times and use that to attack your opponent's face. So you give it to something like a Ninja Master or a Leode that has ambush, and then just hit them in the face for a lot. Pretty powerful. I think this is like it's a very solid card. Like 3 out of 5, maybe potentially more if there's an aggro swordcraft deck around. It's pretty easy to build. Next we have Phantom Assassin, 3 play point 4/2. The new stat line for 3 drops is essentially a 3/3 for a vanilla card, which has no ability. So this has the stats added up equal a 3/3, but the stats are distributed in a way that it dies to most 2 drops. It makes it pretty weak. 4 attack is very aggressive, but if this guy doesn't survive, the 4 attack's not connect face, so it's not that good. The fact that he has Bane doesn't matter too much because he's all statted towards attack, so he's probably going to trade with one thing anyways. Pretty bad card. I mean, it's like a 1.5. Not a 1. My rating system, a 1 is so bad you'll probably lose the game. But like, this is not terrible in Take-Two. I think a 1.5. Bad. 2 play point 2/2. Cyber Cannoneer. This is my reveal card. If you haven't seen the reveal section from my Twitch stream, I put it up on YouTube. 2.22 Mechana card with Enhance 4, summon 2 assembly droids. Very good. You'll see later why these assembly droids are so important. Assembly droids are 1/1s with Mechana trait. Very good, like solid turn 2 play because of 2/2 for 2. It's got the generic stats, which are good. And then the option to enhance 4 is very, very good if you're going first, because it puts 3 things on board, meaning it makes it much harder for your opponent to remove all of the things. Next we have Glorious Core, 3 play point amulet, like all the rest of the cores. During your turn, whenever an allied follower evolves, give +1/+1 to all allied followers. That is powerful. This is, after seeing this core, I think it's the best one, because there's a lot of cards for Sword that when they evolve, they will make more followers. So those followers will also get the +1/+1. You give up turn 3, but you make your turn 4 so good if you're going second. It's a little bit more awkward for going first, because you'd probably rather play a body, but maybe you can make up for it. Like on turn 3 you play like a Valse, and then on turn 4 you play the Glorious Core plus the 1-drop removal. Stampeding Fortress, 4 play point 4/3. When it evolves, if there's at least 2 Mechana cards in your hand, summon 3 assembly droids. And also has Enhanced 9, gain +3/+3, and the ability to evolve for 0 play points, so it's a very good play even in the late game. Yeah. So speaking of 3 assembly droids, this combos really, really well with Glorious Core. If the timing is what I think it is, all those assembly droids will get the +1/+1, which is just game winning. You just win the game on turn 4 if you're going second, if you have those 2 cards. It's also Mechana trait, so it will, if you have an extra copy of Glorious Core in your hand, it will count towards the hand count for Stampeding Fortress. You give up turn 3, but you gain so much. This is like a 5 out of 5. This is like a 4.5 out of 5 just because of the card. Yeah, it looks like Mechana Sword is going to be a thing. Next we have Troya, Thunder of the Hagelberg, 3.122, with Fanfare if at least 2 other officer cards in your hand gain Rush. If you have at least 2 other commander cards in your hand, gain +1/+1. Evolve, deal X damage to enemy follower, X equals the number of commander cards in your hand. To note, this is an officer, so if you have extra copies of her in your hand, they will count towards the officer count. 2/2 with Rush for 3 is bad. It's not that good. It 3/3 for 3 is very generic, like solid, but not good enough to really see play. If you get both, then she's an insane card, +3/3 with Rush, but that's very, very difficult to get that on turn 3. You have to be very lucky to have 2 officers in your hand and 2 commanders in your hand by turn 3. It's very statistically low chance of getting that. And the evolve is like, yeah, it's almost there. I don't know how much. Like, this probably needs to be 3 for us to be good enough to evolve a 3 cost card. Because evolving a 3 cost card is always awkward, especially if you're going second. Yeah, I don't think Officer Commander Sword is going to be as good as Mechana Sword. This is like a 2.5. It's like a 2.5 if you get one of the effects. If you get 0 of the effects, it's garbage. If you get both the effects, it's really good, but that's very hard to do. Joanne, did I talk about this already? No. Okay. Joanne, Ironforged Hero, 7 play point, 3/5 with Rush. Whenever an allied Mechana follower is destroyed, subtract 1 from the cost of this card. Whenever an allied Mechana follower comes into play, give it Rush. This thing's going to cost very little. You have Stampeding Fortress, which is 4 Mechana cards. It lowers its cost. You have Cyber Cannoneer, which is 1 or 3 Mechana cards to lower the cost. This thing's going to cost very little. And it has Rush. And it gives your other Mechana followers Rush. So you can hold this onto this when it's really costs really low, and play with other Mechana followers to have a really big tempo turn. And it's like a 4 out of 5, especially because we're seeing this. Next we have Lucia. She's back. This time she's a 4 play point 3/3 with during your turn, when an allied officer follower comes into play, evolve this follower. Whenever this follower attacks, if there isn't an allied Nano, the Dawnblade in play, summon Nano. Whenever this follower attacks, if this is your 10th turn or later, put a Twilight Blade in your hand. Nano is a 1/1 with Bane officer, and Twilight Blade is 5 play point, deal 5 damage to all enemies. So if you have a 1-drop and Lucia on turn 5, you get a free evolve. Sword has had free evolves in the past. It's not something new to a Sword to have free evolves. This doesn't work very well in the Mechana Sword list. That's the one thing I don't like about this card. It's a good card, honestly. It's a very good card. Evolving and getting a 1 with Bane is pretty good. Having like a 5/5 with an extra 1/1 is good. Late game, like very, very late game, this can be game winning, 5 damage to all enemies. And it requires you to put non-Mechana cards in your deck. It requires you to have an officer, usually cheap cost officers. You want to have a lot of 1 cost officers, so you can evolve on turn 5 for free. It is good. Okay, I'm going to just give it rated without considering the Mechana stuff. I think it's like a 4 out of 5. Moving on. Runecraft. We have Shirati, 2 play point 2/1, very bad stats. With Fanfare, put a Cayman Mysterian Butler in your hand. I'm saying 2/1 is pretty bad because it will die to all 1-drops. And dies to Magic Missile. Dies to a lot of things. It gives you another Mysterian card, a 2 play point 1/3. Fanfare, restore 2 defense to your leader. Small heal, that's nice. And Evolve has Bane. So it's a Mysteria card that generates another Mysteria card in your hand. So it adds 2 to your Mysteria count for Mysteria count spell boost. That's good. Downside, you have to play a 2/1. And upside is okay. It's okay. It's a 1/3 for 2. It's a pretty good stat line. Heals you a little bit. That's nice against aggro. And Evolve has Bane. You probably don't want to evolve a 1/3 most of the time, but if you need to kill something really big, it's an option. Mysterious Rune is going to be a lot weaker because it's losing Mysterious. It's still probably going to be a good, solid budget option for players. Next we have the Rune Core. 3 play point, yeah, whatever. All of the cores are the same. During your turn, whenever an allied follower evolves, put 2 insights into your hand, then recover 2 play points, then banish the amulet. You're essentially paying 1 to get 2 insights, so you're drawing, if you consider this to be 3 play points, draw 2, 3 play point, draw 2, and spell boost twice. It's not that bad, but it requires you to evolve a follower, and it's really bad in late game. It's okay. You kind of have to be kind of desperate, I think. You already have Eleanor that spell boosts twice on 1 card and gives you removal. I think it's pretty hard to fit this card in the deck. It's like a 2.5. Kind of in the middle of the pack of the cores. Next we have Hannah, Mysterian Paragon, 5 play point 4 or 5 with Fanfare, put a Mysterian Knowledge in your hand. Kind of slow. That's really slow. 4/5 for 5 is, yeah, that's the stat line for 5-drop. I think it's kind of been, 5-drops has kind of been power creeped. It probably wants to be a 5/5, not a 4/5. Putting a Mysterious Knowledge in your hand is nice, but the good thing about Mysterious Knowledge, with like right now is that you can play it on turn 1 and then have a immediate turn 2 play. With Seer Knowledge and later in the game, it's still okay, but not as good as it is in the early game. And you have to play this really clunky 4/5. I don't know, it's like a, I think it's like a 2.5. No, it's like a 2 out of 5 on the weak side. Next we have Presto Changeo. I like the Japanese name better. The Japanese name is 1, 2, 3 Magic. Presto Changeo is alright. 2 play point spell, transform enemy follower into, or amulet into a Joycrafter Sammy. Joycrafter Sammy is a 3/4 with Fanfare. Both players draw a card. So turning something into a 3/4 is like kind of tough to deal with. Like turning an enemy follower into a 3/4 is bad for you a lot of the time because you're spending the card and you're playing play points to do that. But if that follower amulet's going to kill you, you'd rather it just be a 3/4. I think it's pretty necessary to have a card like this because of cards like Lashena and other things that you have to deal with or you're going to lose. It's like a 2.5 out of 5 because the thing you turn into is like very it's like a 3/4 is very hard to deal with. We got Boomfish. 2 play point 2/2 with some really creepy art. At the end of your turn, if Overflow is active for you, deal 1 damage to all followers. And when evolved, it does 3 damage instead. Kind of like Humpty Dumpty, where if you evolve it, you get a really good board wipe. This doesn't kill itself, which is nice. So it's a decent board wipe. Very good against small tokens and later in the game. Triggers all of your disdain cards, which is nice. And it can be evolved for a bigger board wipe. Pretty good. Probably not Rim and Dragoncraft for this card though. It's like a 2.5 out of 5. Draconic Core. This is the Dragon Core. This one, whenever an ally follower evolves, get an empty play point and recover 2 play points. Requires an evolve. Requires you to set this up. Kind of clunky. But you get the 2 play points back, so it essentially is 1 play point ramp, which is very powerful, but requires a lot of setup. I can see this being played as maybe a 1 or 2 of in Ramp Dragon. This is a 2.5 out of 5. Moving on. Worm Cannon Dragon Newt. 7 play point 6/6. Then return deal X damage to all enemy followers. X equals the number of allied Mechana cards. And Mechana followers in play, so it doesn't count amulet. Also on Mechana, so it counts itself. 7 play point 6/6. Deal 1 damage to all enemy followers. Pretty bad. So if you have a bunch of Mechana followers, sure. There's cards like Mechafin Diver, which gives you 2 Mechana cards. If Mechana Dragon's good, it potentially can see play, but it requires you to have a board already. Very bad playing from behind. So I'm going to give this card a 2 out of 5. Next we have Assault Dragon. 2 play point 2/2 with Fanfare if Mechana followers in play gain +1 and Rush. This would be good if Dragon had a 1 play point Mechana follower, but I don't know if there is one yet. One hasn't been spoiled. 3/2 with Rush is good for 3 play points. It's really good for 2 play points, but you need allied Mechana follower. It's like another 2 out of 5. Moving on. Dragon Ranch. Fanfare. Randomly summon one of the following: Hellflame Dragon, a Dragon, or Windblast Dragon. At the start of your turn, random summon one of the remaining cards. So Hellflame, you haven't seen this guy in a while. It's a 4/3 with Rush, Windblast, 5/5 with Storm, Dragon, just a 5/5. This card is very comparable to Dragon Canyon. All of the followers are dragons. Not Poseidon, which is what is its main downside, because Poseidon on 8 is much better. It has some value. The fact that you get the follower right away on the Fanfare is very good. because you can evolve it, or if it has Rush or Storm, you can use it right away. So that's good. It's like a 2.5 out of 5. Maybe 3 on a good day. Next we have Forte, Ruler of the Sky, 7 play point 5/4. Storm, last words, start of your turn, gain +3 attack and +1 defense to a random Dragoncraft follower in your hand. Notice Dragoncraft follower, so it will not affect your neutrals, which is nice, because you probably want to hit a Dragoncraft follower with a Storm. 7 play point 5/4 Storm. That's very good. It's a lot of damage. There's not too many great Storm cards for Dragoncraft once Ozzy Dahaka rotates out, but it also costs 7, which matters because it will trigger the invocation of your Hastewind Dragons. I'm trying to think of a rating for this card. I think it's a 4 to 5. Very strong Storm card. Very aggressively statted. So if there's kind of like a Storm Dragon around, this will be a core card in it. Moving on. First we have Ghoul. 2 play point 1/1 Fanfare. If another allied follower is in play, destroy that follower, then draw 2 cards. If it's a Machina follower, gain +1/+1. So it's a worse Demon Eater. Unless you destroy a Machina follower, then it's a better Demon Eater. Demon Eater is a very good card. Tough to rate this card. Once we hit all the Machina followers, then it's easier to rate this card. It's a good rate in Arcus because it will give you 2 ghosts and drawing 2 cards. Yeah, 3 to 5 for now. If there's like a pure Machina Shadowcraft deck, then this is really good. Next we have Ghost Rider. 2 play point 2/2 with during your turn, whenever an allied follower evolves, summon a ghost. And hand 7, gain +3/+3, and summon 3 ghosts. Hand 7, the bane of Shadowcraft, always having 7 drops. If you, again, we talked about this earlier. It's good on turn 4 if you're going second, if you have 2 drops. This is good if it survives until your evolve turn. It's definitely a threat. So if you're going to your evolve turn next turn, this has Pseudo Ward, your opponent really needs to remove it. 3 to 5. Moving on. Deadly Dreamer, 2 play point 2/2. Last words, put a Deep Dream in your hand. Deep Dream is a 3 play point amulet with Fanfare, summon a ghost. Countdown 3, and start of your turn, summon a ghost. So you get 4 ghosts in total. Yeah, 4 ghosts in total. In fact, it summons a ghost right away, means that you don't lose too much tempo for playing this. You still lose tempo because 1 ghost for 3 play points is really bad, but 4 ghosts for 3 play points is very good. Comparable to something like Puppet Room, but Puppet Room lets you choose when to play the puppets. Makes it a lot better than the ghosts. But the ghosts can also go face. So it's going to be 4 face stand. It's like a 2.5 out of 5. I like the card a lot. I don't know if it's good enough. Death Guard. 2 play point spell. Give an allied follower the following effect. Next time, next damage is dealt. Next time damage is dealt to this follower, reduce that damage to 0. Hands 4. Give all allied followers that effect. So you can put this on like something like Ward. It gives it. It's like if you play Hearthstone, it's like Divine Shield. And if you play Hearthstone, you know that 1 play point or 1 mana in Hearthstone, just give Divine Shield 1 thing is not great because like it just gets knocked off by like 1 damage ping somewhere along the line. So pretty bad. What you want to do this is if you want to know, you want to play it into what you know is going to be a very big board clear. So if you know the opponent's going to have a really big board clear, you enhance 4 this, and then your board can survive that board clear. Not too many huge damage-based board clears right now, aside from like Destruction Block, accompanying cards in Portalcraft with it. I think this is just a little bit too much of a cost. I think if it costs 0, and still had the enhance 4, it would be playable. But the fact that it costs 1 is just a little too much, I think, for the effect. So it's like a 2 out of 5. Moving on. Baleful Necromancer. 8 play point 6/6. Necromancy 12. Reanimate X, reanimate Y, reanimate Z. X, Y, and Z equal 12 split randomly. There's a lot to talk about this card. This card could probably get its own video. First of all, Necromancy 12 makes it really hard to play with Tartarus. So get that in your mind. You're not playing this guy with Tartarus. The average split would be like 4, 4, and 4, which means that you're always guaranteed a 4-drop, at least from the Reanimate X. So it's like a Zabet or like a Osiris or something like that. But that's like not the like you're not gonna get that roll. You're not gonna get 4 Zabets. I mean 3 Zabets every time. That's not very likely. You're most likely gonna get a Zabet, a Cerberus, and something else. It's kind of small. A really nice hit would be rolling a 6 to get your Amethyst Rebel, which also potentially gives you your 4-drop, which being a roly-poly. So that's good. So you're always guaranteed like roly-poly if that died, or another 4-drop randomly. This can be a ton of stats on it. Just so many stats. So yeah, if you want a bunch of stats on turn 8, this is the card to play. 12 Necromancy means you can't play too many cards that use Necromancy moving into turn 8, but like 12 Necromancy is not very hard to get. I'm gonna give the guy a 3.5 out of 5. Potentially very powerful effect. The randomness makes it kind of weird. You just kind of have to play him and hope you get the best rolls. But yeah, he's kind of neat. Moving on.